What up, homies and homex? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about gentrification. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys too much. I'm just going to talk about what happened to me. I've already mentioned this before, but the other day I took a drive through my old hood, and I didn't recognize it. I didn't recognize it. So I lived in a ghetto. I lived in a couple ghettos that got gentrification. Okay, so basically, I come from Braddock, Pittsburgh. All right, a real crap hole on a dead end street. Now, like I said, I told this story before, but I'm going somewhere with this. So basically, it was 5 different buildings. It was 7 floors, and it was 5 different apartments on each floor. You counted up how many that is. Anyways, on a dead end street, like I said, and there's a steel mill that's still there, right next to it. But to make a long story short, it was the hood. It was rat and roach infested. I see too many rats, but we seen a lot of roaches. And then one day, the white people came down. And they had on they looked like they were going to outer space. They had on these white outfits. And what they did was they came down and they didn't say anything to us. They fixed up our whole spot. They painted everything. They planted flowers. They cut the field and grass where, all the glass and stuff was. We had tennis courts, basketball courts. They put up tennis nets but gave us no tennis ball, no tennis rackets, no none of that. But they put up a tennis net. They put up they started, basketball hoops, nets, and all this stuff. And we were looking out the window like, what's going on? Like, why are they doing this? Because we're poor. We know what a tennis court, basketball court looks like. But why are you down here looking like, you're about to take us all to some type of camp and, smoke us? You know what I'm saying? We were afraid, basically. So they put up these fences, all nice and white, and they really made the area nicer. And that area was torn up in a week. And that's what they wanted to know. They wanted to know, would we tear the area up or would we try to keep it, whatever, the way they put it. But you did this after years and years of people who lived there after, everybody there is on food stamps. Everybody there is on welfare. Everybody there is starving twice a month. You know what I'm saying? We have a little corner store like right across the street from us, and it went out of business. There's a lot of bad things happening in this one block. Just this one block. There are a lot of bad things happening there. You didn't come and fix all that. You know that we're down here and we're hungry. You know this. You know the majority of people who live in this area do not have a job. You know this. You're not gonna let us into the steel mill and work. I was too young to work anyway. But you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna let our mothers and fathers work in that steel mill and make that good money. You're not gonna do it. You know that we're all hungry. You know this. So nonetheless, they fixed up the area, and then, of course, we tore it up because they didn't tell us how to keep it. They didn't teach us how to plant flowers and keep flowers. They didn't tell us the significance of it. And you think, well, you guys should know that. No. There's nature and there's nurture. And when somebody is raised with a certain mind state, they're not going to change that mind state unless somebody teaches them or something drastic happens in their life to where they have to learn something else. And that's it. When they decide, okay, I'm going to learn something else. But you have hundreds of people that needed to learn something else in a week. And it just didn't happen. Place was tore up. So what they did was when they saw everything decimated that they pretty much did, they came and told all of us we had to leave. And then they tore those buildings down and they put up another like a salt mine or some kind of whatever. And it was like we were never there. And every now and then I would go down there. I don't go there anymore because it's dangerous. But there's no people. It's silent and it's black and it's dark. And it's like there were never any lives there at all. Even the houses that were up the street, you know, I seen a special where one of the guys I grew up with, they did a special on him and his family in that area. And it's just so sad. Because it's like we were never there. It's like we meant absolutely nothing. And another case of gentrification happened here where I live now in the city, Columbus, Ohio. And I lived in the hood, a lot of death. My neighbor killed my other neighbor. I lived next to a whole family of crackheads. The whole family was on crack, except the little girl, and she was like 8. But there's no doubt if she kept with that company, she'd be smoking. She should be smoking by now, because that was 8, 9 years ago. So she's, you know, a teenager now and probably smoking just like her mom, who was, you know, a prostitute and a crack smoker. Yeah. So that was next door to me. Then my other next door was a guy from Jamaica who was married to a white woman, gangster type of white chick, and he used to throw her down the stairs. And I would come out to go out of my building, and there would be a white woman at the bottom of my stairs. And I couldn't even help her. I would say, "Are you okay?" And she'd say, "Yeah." She's still laying there at the bottom of the stairs, all crunched up, not screaming, because she was used to being thrown down marble stairs. Well, her husband would beat her up and throw her down the stairs, and come to find out that he got this little 20-year-old pregnant who lived in the apartments next door. Her boyfriend came out and confronted him one day, and he blew his head off right in front of his father. So that happened. Okay, and then my other neighbor who saw it, the guy who did the shooting came back and was looking for him. So needless to say, that guy left. I was, you know, living in and out of my girlfriend's house, but I still kept my apartment until, you know, she was, you know, doing a lot of stuff with a lot of different guys. So I left her and then came back home and found out all this stuff. So it was just a mess. But basically what happened was the landlord that I had was a white landlord. We're paying him rent, right? And then we noticed that he stopped coming around. Now, we didn't pay him rent through like mail or anything. He would come down and collect rent. So we're like, where's Steve at? He ain't came around in months. Those months turned to about a year plus where there was no Steve. We didn't pay any rent. So basically we got a letter from a bank, said the bank, the building belongs to the bank. I never saw Steve, the landlord, again. Well, there was a restaurant that I lived above. That was always owned by white people. They were racist too. First it was a gay couple, then it was a straight couple, but he was a racist. He's a straight up racist. And basically another gay couple came and took over the building, but they owned the bar downstairs. So there's a bar and there's a restaurant. We lived upstairs. Well, they didn't like me at all because one, I'm straight, and two, you know, I'm a big black guy who doesn't pay you any mind. So the people who would come to these restaurants and bars would get robbed right outside my window because they would leave their purses, right there. So, and their doors unlocked, broad daylight, and they think that nobody will rob them. And then somebody robs them, and then they see me and they go, "Hey, do you know what happened to our stuff?" I'm like, what am I, I don't know. Your stuff is probably up on, Long Street or something, but I didn't do it because I'm not a thief. You know what I'm saying? But immediately they want to ask me. They don't want to ask another white person. They want to ask me. I took it. And then I'm going to come out and walk past you in broad daylight like a doofus where you know exactly where I live. I was like, no wonder why you got robbed, because you're stupid. Then the bar got robbed at gunpoint. So these homosexuals always had it in for me because they thought that just because one black guy robbed you, all black guys robbed you. And I ain't had nothing to do with it. So they had beef with me because some black guy robbed them. I'm like, how does that go? So I got beef with all white people because one white person is a racist, donkey. I can't, no, I'm not doing that. I don't have the energy to hate all white people. I just don't. You know how much energy it takes to hate all white people? Every white person you see, I don't have the, Godspeed. Go somewhere. Do whatever you do. Leave me alone. I do not have the energy that's just too much energy. I just don't. My batteries are low. I don't have the energy to hate all. I just don't. Nonetheless, so I'm getting hated on. Then when they bought the building, they're gonna come up, to my apartment, inspect the apartment with every intention on kicking me out. So they see that I'm heating it with a space heater. So they're just like, you need to turn your electricity on. I was like, okay, fine. It cost me $600 and some odd dollars to do that. I didn't pay for it. I went down to the, VA, got them to do it, turned it on. You know what I'm saying? And then my rent went from like $250 up to $500. I was like, no problem. So they were being ran by a management company. So I walked around the corner, went paid my rent, turned my electric on, showed them receipts. And they hand me an eviction notice. I'm just like, then I noticed on my door was the eviction notice. I went back over there like, why am I being evicted? They're like, you didn't pay your rent. I was like, I did pay my rent. Here's my receipt. They're like, well, your apartment's being heated by space heaters. I was like, no, it's not. My electric is on. Here's my receipt. What else? And they're like, well, you're going to have to talk to the landlord. So I'm walking home and I see the landlord and I'm just like, what it do, homie? You know what I'm saying? I was mad as fire. I was like, you trying to kick me out? I had to, eviction. He was scared because he thought he was going to get hit. I wanted to, but nah. What I wanted him to do is just leave me alone, let me pay the rent. So they was like, you still have to leave. So they kicked me out. They said, we'll give you back your $500. You have to be out. We'll give you a month and a half to leave. So I left and I took the appliances with me. And they were talking about that's their appliance. I'm just like, no, they're not. I've had the appliances for so long. So I moved the refrigerator and the stove out and was like, deuces, you going to cost me money? I'm going to cost you money. But nonetheless, so that area has been taken over by the homosexual community. They've taken over that whole area. There's flags all over the place. And they've taken over that whole area, where it pretty much was the hood. And then Children's Hospital, further down the street, what they did was they bought out an old hospital. Well, what they did was they broke down an old hospital, built Children's Hospital, which is owned by Nationwide. And then right across the street was an African-American school for kids. They told those people, they said, listen, we want to buy your school. We really want the land, is what we want. They said, so what can we offer you? This school has been there for a long time. African-American school, none but black kids go there. They're like, what can we offer you? So they made them an offer. Of course, the African-American school took the offer. They broke down that school to dust and built up some medical research, whatever nonsense. I'm just telling the truth. So they built up some nonsense, whatever, as if those kids never went to school there, as if those black families never were there, and then they built them a whole other school. And here's the thing, everything came full circle. Here's the thing, they built them another school off of James Road where there used to be the most terrible hood in all of Columbus, Ohio. It was called Uzi Alley. And all of the apartments in Uzi Alley, I used to live in Uzi Alley, right when Uzi was actually a dude. His name was Uzi, because he used to shoot the spot up. So they caught him, long time ago, like 30 years ago, got rid of him, and then tore down all those buildings, got rid of all those black families, and even cut down the damn trees. I don't have no problem with improving. I have a problem when you remove black people who are not a problem. And then you act like, when the white people come in, they act like you don't belong there. They want to call the police on you, and you're just standing in your old hood like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why you want to call the police? So nonetheless, on Livingston now, you see white folks jogging with their dog leisurely. Jogging. So many people died on those corners, white folks jogging. And then they built a new garage for the hospital, and they're just working their way out. So from the city out, they're just working their way out. And all of those black families are gone. They're gone. And like I said, it happened to me. Ain't that right? Mixed master I-Z-E. But it happened to me. That's what they did. They told me they did not want me there. And kicked me out of an apartment that I was living in for 10 years for no legal reason. But I had to leave anyway. Now I got a bigger, better apartment. But still, like, I had no rights. I couldn't go to court and say, these people are kicking me out of a place I've been in. I paid rent. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't harm anybody. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't start fights. I'm not a pimp or any other. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no felonies. Like, why do I have to uproot myself just because you feel like that I'm a threat just because I'm black? And that's what they do. They look at you for, they come into your area, into area that you lived in, that you raised your family in, that you got lineage in, that you put blood, sweat, and tears into just to live there. And then these white folks will tell you, get out. Just like that. And some of them will tell you, you can't even live next to us. I had a woman tell me that she was like, well, what color are you? I was like, black. She was like, I'm sorry, I can't even rent to you. Now, let me say this again. I do not hate all white people. As a matter of fact, I don't hate any white person. Like, personally, like, I wish some of y'all would, go far, far away, but I don't have. No. These are places that I already lived, and I got evicted. But it was not a legal eviction. It was, we just don't want you here because you're black. It wasn't, you broke the rules or you broke the law. It was, you're black. You're very black, and we don't want you. And here's the thing. here's the thing. Here's why I'm speaking on gentrification. One, I just saw what Eddie Murphy was talking about. And two, in the area I live at now, for the last 2 years, what they did was, for one, they raised the rent like $60. It's because you didn't gift your neighbors. No. But anyways, very funny. So there's an area that's right across the street from me. And they did the same thing. They tore all those apartments down. They're putting up new apartments, and you already know they're going to raise the rent. And next, not even a mile from me, I could walk there in a few minutes. The next block, that whole neighborhood is gone. I did a video on it. The whole neighborhood is gone. They're all gone. All those families that live there, they're all gone. The city bought that land. So they're going to destroy all that land, all those buildings, and then, the same thing's going to happen. It's going to be gentrification all over again. There's not going to be a bunch of black people who are going to move into these areas. They're not. They're going to raise the rent to where black people can't afford to live there. And what's going to happen to where I live? A new company took over the apartments where I live and then raised the rent. You know what I'm saying? So every time somebody moves out, if the rent was $700, it's now $900 to $1,000. Seriously, that's what they're doing. So they keep raising the rent, and then people are leaving, and then they put in new countertops and stainless steel and all this, refrigerators and stuff, and then raise the rent to $950. And then during a rent increase, that $950 goes. It's just. So now the people who are living in this area, like, I saw a dude who's from was from India. Indians don't live with black people. They don't live around us. They don't live in the hood. You know how long that family lasted? About 2 months. And when they saw me, because they lived right on my block, when the dad saw me, he just stared me down. I just act like I ain't see him. He was so uncomfortable with me being here. Now, if I'd have locked eyes on him, I'd have probably beat him up. But I'm not interested. As long as he ain't drawing on me or come at me, I was like, you can stare at me all you want. Because I'll hurt you. But I'm not interested. Okay? So they didn't last long because there's too many black people here. You don't see, you don't see Middle Easterns, people who own these shops and stuff. You don't see them living with us. They come down to the hood and get our money. These little shops and corner stores that they own, they don't live among us. They do not live here. And they give us terrible service. Terrible service. Because they got a bunch of shops that are opening, that open over here, and they just don't care. So all the black people who lived in these hoods for miles, it's just going this way, out. They're pushing all those people out. What's your solution to gentrification? Well, eventually, I'm gonna tell you something. That's a good question. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you the immediate reaction, because when you displace, when you tell somebody they have to leave and go somewhere else, you can only do that so much before they start, the anger spills over, and they're just like, wait a minute, you kicked me out of my spot. You tore it down. You put up a new spot. You raised the rent. Okay, nothing I can do about that. I went and got another spot further out of the city. You came to that spot and you did the same thing. Eventually, what's going to happen is they're going to have nowhere to go. So they're going to start looking at the people who live in these spots. And they're going to come for them. And then you're going to have problems. And it's because you did this to them. You gave them no option. How far do you want them to go? To the outskirts of the city where there's nothing? To where the bus route? See, the way a city is built, as far as economically and what it's built on, the way these cities are built, when you're looking at transportation, the bus only goes so far when it comes to the outer belt. It only goes so far. It's not going past 270. It's just not. When you push people further out, closer to the outer belt, and you keep raising the rent, you keep pushing, because you're not giving them more money. You're not giving these working people more money. No, I'm saying that's the immediate reaction. I ain't saying that's what you're supposed to do. I'm saying this is what's happening. You're getting people who are mad about it, like, stop doing this to us, because you're raising my rent, but I'm not getting a raise at my job. What does that equal to? That equals to homelessness. And when you have a bunch of people who are vagabonds and homeless, you're calling the police on these people constantly. It's like, where do you want us to go? What do you want to happen? We're going to come to your doorstep and die on your doorstep. That's what's going to happen. During the dead of winter, we're going to be laying on your doorstep. You can call the police, but guess what? I'm going to be out in the day. I'm coming right back to the place that I used to live, and I'm going to lay right back on your doorstep. And I'm going to wait until it's 0 degrees, and I'm going to come out here in a bathing suit, and I'm going to freeze to death right on your doorstep. You think that's not happening? It is. Every year, there are people who die where the 3rd Street Bridge is. I'm just saying, when you keep pushing these people further, when you keep pushing these people further and further out, but you're not financially helping those people, when you're telling them you can no longer afford to live here, go away, this is not your spot anymore. Okay, we didn't own the land, but we raised our families here, and now we're not a part of the community. You out of your mind. You out of your damn mind. Do you want to call 50 every 5 seconds? Fine. We're going to come die on your doorstep. And then you're going to want to move. You're going to take it to the extreme. I don't think there is a solution other than you got to help these people. These are working people. You got to help these working people be able to live. You can't pay them $7.50 an hour and then kick them out of their apartment that they were paying $400 for, and then keep moving them out towards the city. And now they don't have a car. The bus doesn't go to where you're pushing them to, or it's a 2-mile walk to get to the bus stop. I mean, eventually, they're just going to lose the other apartment that they got, and it's, what they're going to do? They're going to go into the inside of the city, and you're going to have a really big homeless problem, and that's what you have. These were working people who felt the crunch of people buying land and pushing people out. This is what happens, and they go right down to 3rd Street in the dead of winter, and they die there every year. And it's to the point now where the bus station, what they'll do is when it hits like 10 degrees, they'll line all the buses up and they'll run the buses all night right downtown, because there's so many people who are homeless, and because they want to keep those people from dying on them. So they're just like, come and sit on the bus. We know it's cold outside. We'll kick you out in the morning. As if it isn't cold outside in the morning. Why not? No. You don't understand. You don't understand. It's not about bettering yourself. It's not about bettering yourself. You have metropolitan cities where You have educated people who got degrees. There's so many YouTube channels who cover this. They have degrees. They were working. They have master's degrees. Some of them have doctorate degrees. Can't find a job. Can't find them. This is not happening in one city. This is happening all over America. Can't find a job. It's not about bettering yourself. It's simply about control. Who has the capital to buy up large amounts of property, kick you out of because you're not in a rent controlled situation all the time, or wait until your contract is up and raise the rent. See, what's the law on raising the rent? What's the law? Does it say you can only raise the rent 2%? Does it say, or does it read, you can only raise the rent, 10%? What is the law on raising a rent on property that you own? There isn't any. Not to my knowledge. If the landlord says, I'm going to raise the rent by $250, which happened to me twice. Twice. The last place I lived, the landlord raised the rent $250. The place where I live out now raised the rent $67 just a few months ago. That happened to me twice. Matter of fact, 1, 2, 3 times. And told me I had to leave, even when I paid it. I'm going to read your comment. College is a scam. I don't have a college degree. Okay, fine. Well, here's another thing. Here's another problem you're running into. Okay, so I have a degree. Like, this is not hypothetical. I really do have a degree. My degree is in health administration. So what I did was I went to the veterans program who helped me get my degree. I went back to them recently and said, listen, I did the research. On trying to get a job. I checked in my field, not go work at some warehouse or whatever, even though, hey, big ups to people who work at warehouses. They're making money out there. But I can't do that. Okay. So I have physical impairments that will not allow me to no longer do that. I did that for years. I can no longer do that every day. I have a degree. So I did a whole bunch of research before I went to talk to these people. I even talked to other veterans assistance program, and I said, listen, what I want is a master's degree. And she was like, why? I was like, age discrimination. I'm 51 years old. I'll be 52 in a couple days. I don't know, whatever day it is today. I'll be 52 in a couple days. I cannot walk into a hospital and compete with a 21-year-old. Thank you. I can't compete with a 21 to 25-year-old. I can't. I cannot compete with them. I can't. And there's a whole breakdown of why. Not to mention, when an employer looks at me and looks at a 21-year-old, they're going to go, one, you're a disabled veteran. So we know you have injuries. If you get on our insurance, you can drive our insurance up. 21-year-old, not so much. I don't have any injuries. They don't have a bunch of illness and sicknesses that comes with age. They just don't. So there's that. And that's a big, 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 big deal. If you don't mind me asking, what are you doing for work? I'm a disabled veteran. I'm also on disability. But I got my little side hustle I do because disability doesn't pay me enough. And like I said, my rent went up. So when my rent went up, it forced me to go out here and do something. Okay? And it also forced me to look at re-educating myself again. So they told me no. They're like, we're not going to pay for your master's degree. Nonetheless, I'm still going to have to get one if I want to be competitive and go back into the work field. I don't have a choice because I sent out resumes. You know, I did my due diligence. I just didn't sit around and go, woe is me. I made phone calls. I sent out my resume. I went, got my resume done. I was like, yeah, doing this. Boom, 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 boom. Sent them out, constant rejection, constant rejection, constant rejection. And I realized it's because, one, I don't have a master's degree. Now, that's not the only problem. That's not the only problem. But my age is another big, big, big problem. They're looking for somebody in between 25 and 30. They just are. They're looking for, when they see disabled veteran, it's just, you think they're not discriminating against you when they see disabled? They are. They're just, it's their company. They go, oh, we care about all veterans, or we care about all people with disabilities. We have a little ramp so you can ride your. It's just like, I'm not that disabled, but you don't, because you know the only people who work in your company that are disabled are there because of a quota. Just like how many women to men, how many African Americans, how many disabled people. They're there because of a quota. You're not going to go out and look for all disabled people and work them. It's not what you're going to do. And we know this. So I know I need to have an extra leg up in order for me to get my foot in the door somewhere and be competitive. I already know this. And a master's degree will help me. So this is why I went to them. They told me no, but I'm still going to try to get that done. I still haven't heard any solution. Do you think the government should? Well, you heard of you. Okay, let me make this cut and dry for you. A solution to gentrification. I was trying to get around to it when I was talking about rent control, or how much, or what's the law on rent. One is there should be a law on raising rent. That's one. Two is you should not be able to displace people without having a place for them to go. Because I notice when people are displaced in these neighborhoods, all they do is send out a notice and say you have to leave. They don't care who you are. That needs to stop. If you're going to push, oh, my back hurts in a minute. If you're going to push people out and you know that you're going to tear those buildings down and raise the rent, you know this, there should be some type of program. I ain't saying it got to be on the company, because that's just capitalism is really what it is. It's capitalism. However, there should be a responsibility to someone, to either the city or to the capitalist or to someone to say, we cannot remove these people without having them, without there being some type of either city, state, county, government program, all for program to help the people settle into a place and be able to find proper housing, proper work. We're talking about people who are working. We're not talking about lazy people. And we're talking about and people who are disabled. We're not talking about people who don't want to do anything. We're not talking about a fast come up. We're talking about working families who can no longer afford to work or afford to live in an area because of gentrification. This is a happening thing. I've seen it over and over for the last, 30 years that I've been living here, over and over and over. Even in the other city I lived in, it's just over and over. And when they tell these people to leave, there is no responsibility on anyone to help these people out. And we're not talking about 5, 10, 15 different families. We're talking about thousands. Listen, these apartments that they tore down over here and that they're rebuilding, that wasn't 10 apartments, 20. That was a whole neighborhood. And I did a video on the neighborhood that they're doing it to now. I couldn't even show you all the houses. It just kept going and going. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And they're apartments. They're what I live at. They're townhomes. So there's your solution. That's what I think should happen. I think there should be a responsibility on, like I said, county, city, state, local government, federal government. There should be a responsibility to help those people. And I don't mean help them once they're displaced. No, I mean when that landlord and that's what I came up with. You're talking to somebody who's living through it, and when my mother got that letter, when my mother got that notice, and I was 16, 17, family of 8, we got that notice. Let me explain to you something. When my mother got that notice that we're leaving that crap hole of a place in Braddock, we already had came from a place where they raised the rent and told us they had to leave. We had already, this was happening to us. We were going from place to place to place because they were, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. And it's saying, if I go back to those neighborhoods right now, they're all changed. So when we went to Braddock, we were in a place, they called it the bottom because that was it. That was it. It's like, where are we going now? Fortunate for me, I was a teenager and I hit another part of town and then I went and joined the army. You know what I'm saying? The solution is stop paying rent and start to own. That is a bold statement. That is a statement. Let me put it to you like this. You're gonna have to research, not you personally, but you would have to research. This is just a family. The cost of living, the housing market. You would have to research the prime rate, subprime rate, because you know what happened with all that. You would have to find out if you can get a loan, because you're going to have to get a loan somewhere. And then you would have to look at what you're already making. Now, let's just say we have a 2-income family. Let's say there's 5 of them. 2 girls, 1 boy, mom, dad together. We're not even going to touch the single mother because everybody directs things at the single mother. We're going to say we have a nucleus, great family nucleus. Mom, dad, whatever color. They're working. Let's just say that dad works in has an office job. Mom is a nurse. No. We're gonna stay away from single mother because everybody heads towards the single mother, and I got mad sympathy for the single mother. But no, I don't want to do that. I want to stay on the family. Let's just do that. Let's just say dad works in an office, for an insurance company. Mom works as a nurse. We'll just say dad pulls down You don't, okay, well, we'll just say dad pulls down 50,000. Mom is racking up 65. So we're looking, nice income. That family right there, that family right there, if they're living in an apartment, and that depends on where they're living at. Because if you're living in an apartment in certain parts of town, you're not going anywhere. Especially if it's like in New York or Jersey or something like that. In certain parts of town, that's all you can afford. And you're doing collectively over 100,000. You're not going nowhere. You're not going to go buy a house. But then you have a family who's not making that much. You're looking at somebody who's doing, we'll just say somebody who's in a non-management position at a grocery store. They're knocking off what? We'll say $11 an hour, right? We'll say mom is knocking off $11 an hour, and we'll say dad works in the same place. So they're both knocking down $11 an hour. Let's just do that. That's $22. That's $22 an hour collectively, right? So what is that? That's $44,000 a year. You tell those people to go and buy a house. Where do you think they're going to buy a house at? They're going to buy a house in the hood. A very unsafe place. And when they do, eventually gentrification is going to catch up to them. And the beat goes on. And that's just the truth. Then leave this. Okay, you can do that. You can research a different state to live in. But you're not going to find a state where it's not happening. Not to mention, leaving the state is not always the option. Because let's just say, like I said, you got 3 kids. Let's just say you got a preteen, 11, 12. You got a tween, 14. I think that's what a tween is, 14, 15. And you got an 8-year-old. So you got older daughter, middle brother, younger daughter. All right? You got that situation going on. An 8-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old is so involved in the area that they live in. They're so enthralled and encompassed in the area that they live in every sense of the word, in every way they can be. It's not that easy to uproot them. And if you keep uprooting them, guess what's going to happen to them when they get older? They're never going to settle because it's going to be unnatural to them. You nurtured them in a way where they're just thinking that settling is just not a good deal. And then when they have kids, the same thing is going to happen. It's the truth. Yes, we already covered that. Well, that's not true. When you say children are subjects, they will adapt. That's not true. You have plenty of children who don't adapt to a new environment. You really do. You need to look some of that up. I mean, if you really want to go into that yourself, but it's very true. You have plenty of children who don't adapt to their environment. They start acting out. They start looking for a sense of security outside of the home. They become very negligent around the house. They don't want to participate in the things that they used to do. They have a lot of angst. They become moody. Some of them are trapped inside themselves. They stop talking. They become introverts when they were very extroverted. And it's not always that they go off and become promiscuous and want to do crazy stuff to people. No, it's not always that. But you'll have a situation where you'll find your kid used to be very talkative. I don't want to talk no more. Your kid was was getting A's. Now, a C is okay. Yeah, I get a C. Because the area they moved in is affecting them in some kind of way. No, it's not about the children running the house. It's about when I had to move. When I had to move, the times that I had to move, my mother had to move us. It wasn't put to us nicely. It wasn't a year in advance. It wasn't none of that. It was a simple letter on your door. You need to go. And it was boom, just like that. You think it didn't affect me? Still affects me today. I still remember it. Yeah, it affected me. It hurt because that was our home. Now, when I was older and I was 17, I was used to it. I was used to it. How do you tell a child get used to getting kicked out of your home? How do you do that? And then you go get better skills. That's always the goal. To the people who are out there who don't want to better themselves, we are not covering those people. I've said this over and over again. We're not talking about people who don't want to do anything. We're not talking about the non-ambitious, even though they're families too. They need a place to go too. But we're covering the people who are trying to do better, trying to get more skills, knocking on these doors, trying to do whatever to make an honest dollar. That's who we're covering. We're covering the mother and father who just are at their wits' end. That's who we're covering. And now I have to get out. Now I have to be uprooted. Where am I going? What program is there that's going to help me? What, the homeless shelter? Wait. That's what happens. Whole families head towards the homeless shelter. This is gentrification. This is what this does. And then when you go back to where you used to live, you're an alien. You're not even welcome. They call the police because you're walking down the street that you've known for 15, 20 years. No, it's not about the children running the family, but the children. Listen, the mom and dad, a sane mom and dad, are very, very aware of their child and what their child is doing and the way their child is acting, reacting, socializing. It's very, very important to them. So they're not going to want to put their child in some kind of situation where they know, especially from experience, they know this is going to hurt this child in the long run. No sane parent is going to want that. Like, I know my little boy, we're going to move to an area where I know my little boy is going to be susceptible to getting jumped, to getting beat up, to start hanging out with ruffians, to join a gang. I know this. I know that my child is a very social child. Now I got to move to the outskirts where my child knows no one and is not going to want to know anyone. He's going to go to school, come right home. No football, no basketball, none of the stuff he's good at. Not interested anymore. Going to come right home, make a beeline. Soon as he gets off the bus, boom. He isn't acting out. He's acting in. I'm just saying, this all happens. I know because I've seen it. It's happened to me. And I think the only solution, what you said is not going to happen, is I think there should be a warning long before, because you can't stop capitalism. That's what the country is based off of. But when it's happening, I think the family should be properly warned. I don't know, 6 months to a year. I don't know, whatever it is. There should be some type of buffer to where the family knows it's coming. You have 1 year and you have to be out. I had 45 days. 45 days. That's what I had. There should be some type of about 4 months. 4 months. 3 months. 3 months is enough time to find something and make a smooth transition for a family. For a family. 3 months, 4 months. Should be a smooth transition when it comes to gentrification. But it's not. It's violent. It's a violent move. Police are called and everything. You have to leave. Sheriff putting signs on your door. Your stuff being thrown out. It's violent. And what are you going to do about it? That's it. It's not, it's, I don't think that it's all the way, listen. We know that the white people run the country. We know that white people have more money than black people in this country. We know this. This is up for debate. We know that they can come and do what they've been doing, colonizing and gentrifying. This is not strange. This is what they do. We know this. But there should be a system set up to where those good people, regardless of what color they are, who are affected by gentrification, should have some type of, like I said, some type of warning for, it should be a program set forth. You know, and I'm not saying that the landlord or the company has to give you money, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that because I don't think that's fair. You know, you need to leave. I need to pay you to leave, and that don't sound right. However, that landlord needs to either go to county, city, state, federal, and have some type of written document or whatever, and say, this is going to happen in this area at this time. And all those people are sent this information, and they know there's going to be a mass exodus. These buildings are going to be shut down. Okay, fine. And here's the program that is set up for those of you who need it. It's not the homeless shelter is set up. No. There should be knowledge handed down to them. These are places that you can go that are within this amount of economical, you know, like it costs this much to live here, Like that information should be handed down to people. Just that alone would help people. Like, oh, I can't live here anymore. I pay $700 and now the rent's going up to $1,000. I can't afford to live here anymore. Where am I going with my family? And you're just like, well, wait a minute, just look on the internet. No. I'm saying that there should be a program set up to help people who are being gentrified. We know that there's the internet out there. We know all that. But I'm saying it should be smoother. It should be a smoother transaction where you don't have people who feel like they are they're just not worthy. You know, they feel You know, they should not be in a position of helplessness. They should not feel like the city doesn't care about them. They're tax-paying people at one time or another. They should not feel like the state, county doesn't care about them. They should not end up on the 3rd Street Bridge dead with a whole group of people. Dead. Frozen to death. College degrees, all that. Dead. This is what's happening. I'm not saying that all people are being kicked out, yada, 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 but it's really, 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 really happening. It's been happening since I've been here. It's your boy Tone 202. Thanks for stopping by.